Where the Florida Board of Governors just rejected the University of Florida's pick for its next president. The decision followed a contentious kind of confirmation hearing where the board questioned Santa Ono, the former president of the University of Michigan, about his past support for diversity programs. Fox 13's Evan Axelbank is in the newsroom with the latest for us. Evan, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, and Haley, this vote just came down. It was a 10-6 vote against Santa Ono during this 4-hour meeting. It became clear that numerous members of the Board of Governors had significant problems with his view of the role of diversity in education. And so this is a rebuke of UF's board, which just days ago voted unanimously to approve Dr. Santa Ono. Now, even though he said he ended Michigan's DEI program while he was president there, he has a history of advocating for the import of diversity in education, and he faced tough questions from numerous board members concerning diversity programs, his views of anti-Semitism, and also of climate change. He said he no longer believes that programs focused on racial diversity are the right answer for society. Evidently, that was not enough, though, for the board members. Numerous board members asked pointed questions looking at his past statements on diversity programs, as well as his reaction to the October 7th attacks on Israel by Hamas. He said he forcefully condemned them. Now, he also said his goal was to make UF a leader in AI programs and keep them a leader in bioengineering. Here is just a very small sampling of what was a very long meeting.
Now, I want to say really clearly that I will act decisively at Florida as I did at Michigan, protecting Jewish students. It's not a partisan issue. It is something that's moral and deeply personal to me. Second, we've talked a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I support fully the decision to end DEI programs.
He was tested on anti-Semitism at Michigan, and he failed miserably. Now, this is not about encampments. This is not about refusing to listen to Jewish students when their civil rights were being violated. This is about whether or not he understands, and I don't think he does, the consequences of that inaction. We saw this in Boulder, Colorado on Sunday.
The governor, who has had a huge impact on how universities in Florida have moved away from diversity programs, largely steered clear of this one, at least in public. He said the guidelines had been set very clearly in Florida by the governing boards that are now filled with his conservative appointees when it comes to diversity programs. Now, he said even if a pro-DEI person were to take a leadership position, he argued they would be hamstrung by current state policy. Now, recently, though, Senator Rick Scott and also gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds suggested the University of Florida scrap their unanimous vote for Ono and find someone else. And now it appears that they are back to the drawing board at the University of Florida. They must start over on their search for a new president because, indeed, he was the only finalist for the job. Haley.
Right. Evan Axelbank report.
Hello. Welcome to Neighborhood News. Naked Truth News with our hosts, Greg and Mark. Hey, guys.
How are you?
Santa Ono, they don't want him down there in Florida, huh? Keep him up here,
well,
they said.
I think he should be wanted, but not by the university. I tell you, really what I saw about that, it looked like a nice cover story by Fox News there. But I think there was a lot more to the story than the climate change and the DEI programs. When he talks about bioengineering and AI, exactly what the Chinese professors have been doing here. I want to pull up the clip of the bioengineering department that went from Texas A&M University to the University of Michigan. It's a complete CCP operation, okay, for 20 years. So, it's not about DEI. It's about the corruption and the waste, fraud, and abuse in our tax dollars going to things like financing. When we talk about AI, Connect Corporation, Eugene Yu, got a $306,000 grant from the state of Michigan and used it to corrupt our elections, and that all of the, not talking about Michigan, but Michigan State University, all the intellectual property and everything we came up with at Michigan State went straight to Eugene Yu's partner, Mike Lee, who is in the Hong Kong Institute. And the real story there is Eugene Yu, really. I mean, you have to start there because Eugene Yu was a professor. His wife was a professor at Michigan State University. I don't know where all this agricultural bioengineering comes from at University of Michigan. I thought Michigan State was the university, but, you know, you have to start the story there with the arrest of Eugene Yu, okay? Connect Corporation, okay. When I got to town, they immediately emptied out their offices on Okemos Road in Michigan State University, where Connect Corporation was caught in real time by the FBI cybersecurity contractor and in the cooperation of the chief operating officer, Bradley Grant, okay, who became the whistleblower. So none of this is conspiracy theory whatsoever. All the evidence of the Chinese changing our votes here in Michigan and across the country in real time, okay, by the FBI, okay, but you had the corrupt people in the FBI and the DOJ, and this is what I think Kash Patel and Thule and Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, National Intelligence, they need to look heavily, heavily into this situation, starting with Eugene Yu and Donna Wang, the professors from Michigan State University, and all these other Chinese professors, both at Michigan State University and at the University of Michigan. I want you to scroll those pictures of the bioengineering. It's all Chinese, and they're not Americans at all. They're all from Shandong University. That's the alumni. The entire department is Chinese. Here we go. Oh, yeah, you had it there.
This one here.
Yeah. Look at the alumni. Okay. Graduate and visiting graduate students. This is their alumni. Okay. If you look at these, look at these names. If they always put a couple Americans at the top, but if you go into the list, look, every single one of them are Chinese professors from Chinese. You remember we just got hit with a Chinese bioweapon brought to you by DARPA and the American military. So I think I would be a little concerned about them getting into our agricultural bioengineering and as well as the AI, because Donna Wang, I had all her paperwork, all her research. It's all into this crazy AI stuff, controlling your body with AI, controlling your mind with AI. I mean, it's crazy Frankenstein stuff. And it's the kind of research that we really need to get away from. I think we're pretty good at growing food here at Michigan State University already.
But this is a press release from today or yesterday, sorry. Chinese nationals charged with conspiracy and smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the U.S. for their work at a University of Michigan laboratory. And so like this going on at the University of Michigan while this Santa Ono, who was the president. Okay, so he was the president of the University of Michigan, was down at Florida because he was trying to get changed over to the University of Florida.
They do all the same things there. Remember Gain of Function University, right?
Right. And so this could be behind the story because this is just coming up now, and so it's like, were they really talking about DEI or it could be deeper than
story.
This
Let's
here?
go back to that story.
This year, the Chinese nationals?
Okay. Yeah, that's totally a fake story. And why Kash Patel would even put such garbage out there? I mean, what's going on with Kash Patel? First of all, that guy's not in custody. He's back in China, just like Eugene Yu, who got smuggled out of the country by the FBI. Now, the LA prosecutors arrested Eugene Yu at the airport and took him from the FBI. But let's see. Let me just go through a couple of the notes on what is true in this story and what isn't true. First of all, let's see. He's not in custody. Nobody's in custody, first of all. Okay. So it says they may have filed charges. He left the country in July. He's not coming back.
This is Eugene Yu.
No. This is the guy they just arrested. This guy right here.
Okay.
The guy,
Sorry.
This is Lou and yeah, I mean, so I don't even know what these supposed charges are. Nobody's going to get convicted and nothing's going to happen.
Yun King Jian and Jungyong Liu, citizens of the People's Republic of China, were charged in a criminal complaint with conspiracy, smuggling goods into the United States, false statements, and visa fraud. Okay, here we go.
Now stop. No documents are filed with the court. The main defendant left the country in July and won't be coming back to the U.S. Is he even alive? This is just another Eugene Yu jettison. That's what Harry says.
So he left a year ago, and now we're just hearing about it?
look at the court records. Documents 3 and 4 are missing. This is public records. How are the documents missing? Just like Eugene Yu's arrest records are missing. Now, there's something right away that Kristi Noem and Tuli Gabbard and Kash Patel need to look at, because who are these crooked FBI that were trying to smuggle Eugene Yu out of the country and then eventually succeeded? And, you know, how is it that the arrest records for Eugene Yu disappeared? So the clerk and the the sheriff's office, these people all had to be colluding to make the arrest records disappear. Where did these records go?
So
it
just
seems like the same kind of things going on here,
To take just a break here real fast. Greg's reading notes there from the great Harry the Greek.
Yeah.
And for folks not familiar with nakedtruth.news, that is the website of the great Harry the Greek, brassballs.blog. So Greg here works very closely with Harry. He's been out to a number of courts and court cases. I don't want to call you a gopher, Greg, but
no,
a little bit.
To keep up. I'm the librarian with all you guys. I just try to keep up with you all, and there's no
well,
way.
No,
it's
but
important that we start separating, what they're saying in the news and what's actually true. And when you have to go to the court records and the arrest records, and all of a sudden they don't match what the news is saying. All these guys no, they're not. If they're in custody, which jail are they in? Where's the court? We'll call the jail.
But I would say you've splintered off into being very focused on Harry and working closely with
I'm trying
Harry.
to help Harry as much as I can.
So Greg works closely with Harry. He's in communication with him every day. So he was reading some notes and texts there from Harry. And as we move forward on our show here, we're going to try to do a Naked Truth News weekly show, and we will be bringing Harry in and having Harry obviously highlight his news stories and everything. But for now, Greg will still be the host. Greg's going to be, the show host here running. Right. We're going to hit Harry's headlines and everything here. But definitely, just most of the folks, I'm sure 99% of the folks watching are familiar with Harry the Greek. And, so this is definitely a Harry the Greek centered cast here. Here, that was Naked Truth News. Here's just so folks know Harry the Greek, brassballs.blog here on Twitter. Definitely subscribe to Harry on Twitter. Check out his stuff there. And his blog, his website has been very prolific for years. And we're going to jump right into the headlines here. And Naked Truth News, you want to do this one first, or was there a different story?
That's a fun one, because all this stuff on immigration, and it was actually Reagan.
Here, I'll read it. Reagan credited Roberts for their landmark win in a Supreme Court case in 1983. So, yeah, I guess would tell us about this one.
Well, it's basically that he was the lead attorney, and he's the one that settled the case that the executive branch has 100% authority in immigration matters, and the courts have no say in it whatsoever. It's fully in control of the executive branch. And Roberts was the one that argued the case and won the case in the Supreme Court. So he knows very full well that these courts can't block anything with anything. They have no power whatsoever, which is what the Supreme Court also ruled recently. It's like, it's not our department. We don't get involved in immigration. That's national security. That's national defense. All those sorts of things. So, I mean, it's fully in control of the executive branch.
Mark, does any of this ring a bell? Reagan and Roberts?
Yes, and what I'm just seeing with this right now is that I think all of this action by these judges is allowing the American people, and maybe that's the whole idea, but to see this judiciary that really since Watergate, has tried to, box in and restrict the executive branch from doing its executive, Article 2 duties. This whole idea that a judge even, is, making decisions that, like, well, judge, if you want to make these decisions, then you need to run for office and be the president, and then you can do those things. That's not the purview of a judge. Okay. And we've been led down this idea that we have a judicial supremacy here. The people are the supreme here. Okay. And the people are over the judges, and the people don't like what they're seeing from the judges. And all this is doing is to me, eliminating the legitimacy of the judicial branch by all of this lawfare, okay, and abuse of due process and denial of people's rights. All of that, it has at some point is just the people aren't going to take the courts seriously anymore.
I'll read here from the end of the article. During Reagan's time, Congress clashed with him over immigration, presidential powers, and court jurisdiction issues. Now it is federal district judges who think their authority supersedes that of the presidency on any issue. And yep, as to
Right.
your point, I mean, there you have it, right? That is what we are seeing here, right?
Well, yeah, as a solution guy, say, what do you do about it? And the thing about it is, I think what we're pushing for over at Naked Truth News is that people learn how to file lawsuits. If you've been harmed as a victim, we're very much about going to the constitutional law and skipping over the make as you go admiralty law. So first you want to prove your identity, establish your identity, who you are. And then if you actually have a person who has harmed you, and they can harm you also if they've taken, now according to the Supreme Court that just ruled, if they've taken away one of your rights, they've harmed you as a harmed victim. So I think Susan Wojciechowicz definitely has harmed some people we know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see where I'm going with this? If you have to be a harmed victim, but you have a right to sue these people. And I think the only way things are really ever going to change is if people start saying, well, enough's enough. This individual right here is harming me, endangering my family, my children. I believe if you've stolen my vote, watered down my vote, I'm a harmed victim. And if I can prove it in court, you owe me a lot of money. I'm going to sue you for all your personal assets. That's what all your personal assets. That's what Ed used to say. And he was all about suing people personally. I said, never sue a corporation, nor never sue. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Sue that person personally. If it's a city councilman, whoever it is, make sure you're right. But if you got the evidence and they've done this to you, some of these people are admitting that they've done it. So, and I mean, it's obvious. Now you've got the director of National Intelligence Agency telling you that the intelligence agency was targeting and censoring people if they said the wrong thing on COVID. Oh, wait, I think that would be a whole bunch of books.
Let's jump into this story. Next story here.
Okay.
This is another one of Naked Truth News stories, the second story on Naked Truth News. When will the FBI jail politicians in 500 sanctuary cities? DHS exposes sanctuary jurisdictions defying federal immigration law. These jurisdictions violate federal laws by releasing criminal non-citizen immigrants. Criminal co-conspirators include governors, mayors, election officials, third-party consultants, and attorneys. These people can also be sued personally as co-conspirators under federal and state non-criminal civil rights RICO laws. The Supreme Court ruling on April 2nd makes it easier for businesses and people to win civil RICO cases. The court said businesses and people can collect triple damages and attorney's fees by alleging invasion of their legal right rather than establishing a specific injury or property damage. Interesting. So
yeah, so your right to free speech, your Second Amendment right, any of those rights, right?
Yeah. Mark, any comments here? I think.
Well, the problem with all of this right now is often the judges and the prosecutors and the politicians are all employees of the same corporation, and they're going to, their paychecks are all signed by the same person, and they're going to do what's right for the corporation and not what the people's bidding is.
Well, I think you got a point there, and I think that's exactly what until we actually return to the Constitution, the real Constitution, it's really difficult to play in their game. But if you make them play in our game, it's a whole other thing. In a constitution, only a grand jury can decide. A judge can't decide. And in a constitutional court, the judge is just a hearsay witness. He has no power. Okay, only the grand jury has power. In fact, in a constitutional court, lawyers are not allowed in court unless it's a real estate transaction. Okay, so you really want to get down to it. But the way that you can and Ed Johnson did for 50 years, if you can just establish yourself under native treaties as a fifth generation American, with that comes constitutional rights. And you're no longer held to admiralty law, the Queen, to make up the laws. You go, none of those things apply. In fact, you don't even need a driver's license to drive on roads. You can't be charged. You're given a ticket or charged with a crime without a victim pursuing due process. So we have to understand what the Constitution is and that it is available to us. Yes, it is available. You can go around all those crooked judges, but you have to admit that the document that was holy, that was written, I mean, even God liked that document. That's the document we must return to, and you can return to it, but you have to establish your identity and apply and establish your standing under native treaties, prove your bloodline back to the Civil War, and then declare yourself a bloodline American, a Native American, In fact, all black people in native treaties are Native Americans. It says right there, you're automatically in. So the fact that they subjected themselves to the drug war and the prison and incarceration nation, all that stuff was totally unnecessary if they had understood the law. Now, don't tell me this doesn't work. And everyone go, lawyers always say, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I never heard of that. That doesn't work in court. Yes, it does. Ed proved it with all the precedents. It's gone to the Supreme Court many, many times. It's proven in court. Not only does it work, it is proven. If you follow the steps, it has to work. Otherwise, they have to surrender America back to the natives because it's the contract with America. So don't think it doesn't work. I can tell you stories. I can tell you stories of Ed getting caught with 80 pounds of coke right here in Toledo.
Who's Ed?
Ed Johnson, the world's greatest law advisor. He was the Constitution.
Will I find him online, or he's probably not?
He recently passed.
Online.
He's been on Neighborhood News Studio before. He advised the Senate for 12
okay.
years. He much of what you saw argued in the Supreme Court came from Ed. He was involved in every national case that involved rights or, he took down more public officials, school boards. The governor even put a contract on his life in Oregon. He's on tape. The whole thing.
You'll have to give me some clips and things, and we'll prepare.
Well, he's the cowboy.
We'll have to
he was
prepare
a bodyguard for
a separate
Jefferson
show.
Starstruck, the cowboy, the guy. The guy's a legend. What can you do? He was a rock and roll legend, but he knew the law. He understood from the time he was a child. He studied in a district court. Appellate court judge from the time he was young, and he just knew the law. The Constitution was all to him. That's all.
I remember a show with Andy.
Yeah, he died 17 times in his dying breath. He was still fighting. The guy was fighting. Is that Clark on the phone? You better put him on or I'll kill you. It was funny. He never got a medical bill. I got to tell you stories. I have to tell you a couple stories because, he would go into the hospital and he'd say, you have to get admitted. He goes, in duress, I would have to sue you for all your personal assets. So they'd have to admit him. They never ever sent him a bill. All the hospital had, and he put all the law work into the medical records. Where if he ever died for medical reasons, the lawsuits were automatically filed, so they could not let him die. You know what I mean? They kept bringing him back and bringing him back. It was hilarious. But he'd get back on the phone and go back to work, go back to fighting.
We'll have to do a separate show. You'll give me some clips, and we'll do a
he
tribute
was a
to Ed
classic,
show. But so back to Naked Truth News, the Naked Truth News website. This is an interesting story. I guess shows the sports ball fan in me that I'm interested in the NFL story. But can you tell us more about this NFL story? What is Harry?
Really, one of the stories
NFL
that he's been way ahead on is this.
Harry has.
Harry has.
Here, I'll read.
He got some inside knowledge on this that. They can be getting hit with some charges. Of course, now you've got.
You want me to read it a little bit here?
Covington, yeah, Covington is the representative. Eric Holder for the NFL.
NFL keeps its DEI programs based on Covington's legal advice. Covington is the law firm that advised the NFL to maintain its DEI programs despite them being illegal. I believe our diversity efforts have led to making the league better, said the NFL commissioner on February 4th. According to its website, Covington Law Firm has represented the NFL for over 60 years. In 2010, the Supreme Court held that the NFL, its teams, and owners are subject to rather than being immune from antitrust laws.
I'll make a statement on that because I'll tell you what it is. Okay. Well, if we give you money for this stadium, then you have to do this and you have to provide that. Okay. And so because they've enslaved themselves to the bankers so they could have municipally owned stadiums so that rich people can buy tax-free municipal bonds and not pay income taxes. Okay. The NFL has put themselves in a situation where you made deals, right? You made deals to get your stadium money or to move the franchise or other kinds of deals. Okay. You made deals with the devil. And that's what the lawyers are probably protecting you from. Maybe.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And there's also a little more going on there too. I think, everything, all this, have you noticed like all the DEI money seems to be like some kind of big money laundering scheme and a lot of these NGOs.
Well,
DEI.
NGOs. I was just thinking DEI used to be called affirmative action. They just repackaged it, when they got rid of it. But it really was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why do they need so much money?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so there's some other things too. I mean, this could involve more nefarious things than on the surface, even fixing games and different things that could be going on.
Oh,
I
wow,
think
yeah.
we suspected some things.
What? Who is Covington and Burling? I recall them in the news, but I can't.
I believe that's Eric Holder's company, right? That's our good old friend Eric Holder, who now has been sanctioned by executive order.
Right. They can't get money from the
For
government.
his criminal behavior. No more than that.
Well, but they're no
Yeah.
longer, they
Isn't
can't
that
be,
Covington? I think it's Holder.
they're not doing business with
Okay,
the
yeah.
Justice Department anymore. They've been like cut off. Same
They've
with
been cut off to security clearance. They're not allowed in federal. Any contractors that work for them are not allowed to even be allowed into. Even the contractors that are working for them, or even representatives of them, are not even allowed in federal buildings. That's right. So yeah.
Wait, so like
it's,
before, like the Justice Department would like contract a law firm like to do stuff for them?
No,
You're
it's
saying
more
that
like
kind of thing,
criminal
like-
charges are coming. So, some of them, like you said,
Make this
paid
go
paid
away.
their way out, okay, because they know they had done wrong and said, we will sin no more and we will pay this fine. And
deferred
that's what he was, but
prosecution.
not guys that did this kind of crimes. We know some of the Eric Holder. Should we go back into the background of this fella? Going back to
He's still on
Waco
the
and
screen, yeah.
Ruby Ridge and PatCon and
Fast and Furious.
yeah,
Oh, he goes
yeah,
back that far, huh?
Yeah. He goes back to the original Clinton days, right?
He was with
So-
Obama though, right?
Oh, he goes way back further than that. He can't,
Ron Brown.
Oh, he did the Fast and Furious thing.
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Where the Mexican, they put the weapons in Mexico to try to track them, but then they ended up killing people with them and stuff.
And he did
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing before that, and it's
Yeah.
called Patriot Conspiracies. PatCon and senator's brother, somebody died. He'd done the same. And of course, he was real close to that the Oklahoma City bombing.
Mhm,
There was stink
mhm.
all over that stuff. Let's just put it that way. And I think he's a stinky guy, if you ask me. But
I wonder what's in the 76.9 media contract too. There could be more of that. Why they're holding on to DEI.
well, yeah, there was
Trump, here-
also.
So wait, this was February 25th. Trump signed a memorandum to suspend security clearances for Covington and Burling LLP employees involved in the weaponization of government, pending a review of their roles and responsibility in the weaponization of the judicial process. And this is from the WhiteHouse.gov webpage. So
Right.
he wanted to be sure everybody knew that he did this. Obviously, Trump did.
Well, they're letting you know that criminal charges are coming.
Wow,
So.
this is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
This is this part of the Crossfire Hurricane
Right.
exposure thing?
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
kind of came out of that, huh?
Yep.
Interesting. So we should pay more attention to this as it goes. So the NFL.
They really thought he was going to die at Butler.
really? You think that's okay? well,
Yeah,
fair.
and they were going to have Kamala, and it'd all be fine, and it isn't fine.
Yeah.
It certainly
Definitely
isn't
not fine here in
fine.
Michigan. huh?
It certainly isn't fine. But so the whole NFL thing is seeming. I mean, I don't know. The more that just. I don't know.
There's
That's
been
a-
this whole, the halftime
Hmm.
shows with the satanic rituals, and we used to
Sure.
have like some nice fun ones. We had like Tom Petty and cool people and stuff, but now all of a sudden you get all this like weird satanic, and you just wonder what's going on. Is this part of the DEI? I don't know what it is, but the DIDDY Diddy. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I mean that whole carrying on is beyond me.
Should we do one more story of Harry's, or do you have any other areas you wanted to go?
No, this is a good one.
Let's do this one, then we'll hit your notes and be on our way. How about
Sure.
Let's so what is this one here? This is judge ruled in March that Dominion will win its defamation case versus MyPillow.
Yeah, this is the crooked Judge Wang. Why is it all these Wangs?
It's just,
Well, no, like at Michigan State, they have like 50 professors named Wang.
Sure.
Yeah.
Federal Judge Nina Y. Wang ruled on March 17th that Dominion has won its defamation case against Mike Lindell and his company MyPillow. The 10-day trial starts June 2nd. So that's starting right now too. Or that started yesterday.
Yeah, in
too, so,
fact, we just finally got Mike Lindell's attorneys, Harry did, to look at the darn evidence. Dominion tells you in all their own emails that their systems were not secure and all that stuff. They provided all the evidence themselves in all their own emails. So
They're just out to
I think he
bankrupt
finally
him.
got the evidence he needs there to get into court. But I mean, it's
They're just out to bankrupt Mike Lindell and silence him.
exactly.
And then like whatever she did, it's going to lose on appeal because there's no real
Well, it
legal
will if we
basis.
get this evidence in court. I mean, that's the whole deal that mostly Harry works on getting the proper evidence, because you see, he goes into the court records and all these actual, the real who did what, where, why, when, and how, not these comment shows and all this different stuff. We got
Like here in this article.
Really, he can prove, and that's when working with all these different. We got the Stephanie Lambert case here. We got all these different cases. You got that Tina Peters that.
Yeah, but even with this,
16.
defendants are purveyors of various false election fraud theories. That's fine. This is a free country. The marketplace is going to sort that out. If it's bullshit, it's going to get called
Well,
out.
it did.
It doesn't.
It did. Even Dominion invented these systems aren't safe, and never said they were. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing. So for
But
it's
it's
a totally bogus case against Mike Lindell based on their own statements.
But let the judges, let the judges expose themselves. I mean, this judge really with Lindell is like, this judge just pulled her pants down, and we
Right.
see what she is.
Right. Well, we have that same problem here in Michigan. So, we've got the same problem. They put 16 alternate electors in, she was going after 7 felonies, life in prison for questioning the election we proved was rigged, right?
Judge Wang ruled on May 9th that Mike Lindell's attorneys cannot ask questions about specific subject matter relating to Dominion's Eric Coomer. I remember him, right? Everybody remembers him from the election. They include A, sex life, B, drug and alcohol abuse, C, religious beliefs, opinions about Black Lives Matter, law enforcement, and related issues, E, Facebook posts about Texans, Jonathan Sackler, and past Halloween costumes. Why? Because the answers discredit and impeach Coomer's credibility. And this was a good one to end on for the articles for today, actually, because it does show in the article how many court records Harry had to go get, and how if you don't get these records,
Right.
There's just a lot of hearsay, and just like how ridiculous
It just
these
goes on the
court
internet,
records
but
can be.
someone has to actually go get the court and read the end of the court record. It's always the end.
Yeah, but also, so at the end of any of Harry's articles, you can visit nakedtruth.news. And at the end of all of his articles is the donation here. You can do one time or a monthly donation, $10, $50, $5, $1, $1,000, anything you can give just at the end of every article. So if you go to nakedtruth.news and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can put in there. If you write them a comment, say Neighborhood News sent me.
There you go.
We're not really taking donations yet or anything here at Neighborhood News. We're still getting that figured out. So for now, if you give something to Harry, tell him.
Backing here, get these students going.
Oh, we'll
some
get it going.
advertising,
Yeah.
because I really think the students are the future. A lot of these guys are old. I'd say a lot of these guys just don't have the juice. And we need some young Americans for liberty.
Well, you guys are young at heart, and so is Harry. That's for sure. And definitely, Greg goes around to the courts getting documents for Harry. And I don't know if he went out to Colorado to get these, but sometimes you got to go there in person. Sometimes you can mail in for him and everything. But definitely check out Harry's website. Check out all these documents and nakedtruth.news. Certainly, and we'll be coming at you weekly with all the news, all the updates, all the headlines from nakedtruth.news. But did you have any other quick topics there that you wanted to hit?
Well, I was just going to say, if you
got your notes there. I don't know if
just a couple of things. But I'm not going to leave the science and technology because let's just stick to the news here. But tomorrow
we'll do science and technology next week.
I'm going to be with Harry the Greek because we've got some amazing things to talk about. So if you want to go to Love Tour Greg on X tomorrow, we'll be with Harry the Greek, and we'll do a special one for the Elon. I know Elon Musk wanted to see the Tesla technologies and all the different things of all the, and a lot of people want to see them. So if you want to go to Love Tour Greg on X tomorrow, and we'll have Harry on there, and Bones and I and Harry are going to lay out all the Age of Aquarius technologies for Elon Musk, who's very excited to know what, about Tesla technology and all those things. There's Harry getting his treatment there. That's my pin post on Love Tour Greg on X. You'll see Harry on the pin post.
This is Greg. Greg here. This is Twitter. Love Tour Greg Clark on Twitter. So,
so that was a big thing here. But I think we've given enough blood in the water for Kristi Noem and Tuli Goubard to start looking at these universities.
Okay.
And really get into the background checks on these people and see what's going on here.
All right. Well.
But tomorrow we'll do science and technology.
All right, so check out Greg's Twitter here for Science and Technology. Any other notes? Any other comments, Mark?
Well, we got a lot of things to talk about with Constitution and all those things. So we've got a lot of weeks left. This is a good blood in the water episode to really get to know Naked Truth News and get in these stories and really see how you need to go here and compare to the official story that everybody's sharing on YouTube. Like this person they say arrested who's been gone since July and back in China Why is this a news story, Kash Patel, that you've arrested these 2 people on this bioweapons charge? They're not here, and they're never going to be arrested. They're never going to be arrested, and they're never going to get convicted. So it's kind of a dishonest story. You know what I mean? So that's what we're here to unlayer the layers of truth here.
Well, and real quick here, I see on your Twitter you've got this image, which I think is from this book that's in front of us.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I don't know if you just grabbed that just for something to hold, but you got a book.
Okay.
Look at that. Greg's got a book, everyone.
Yeah. So
yeah.
so you want to
Can people buy this on Amazon?
Yeah, and you got the Bones has got the last chapter with the Tesla science. This will be the first book of science, but it's got Motown, the history of unions in America. My grandfather started the UAW and the first president of the Teamsters, and the real story of the unions is one of my things that I love about this, because it was all whitewashed and rewritten. And to go back and save our union history was really big for me. But civil rights, all different sorts of things. But
is it online? Can I find it?
You can buy it anywhere, but I recommend you buy it at AmericanWatersheds.com or at BookBaby, because I get a little better cut from those guys.
American Watersheds.
You can buy it anywhere books are sold.
Let's see.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, if you're into music, a lot of people want it for like the New Orleans, the real stuff, the blues, all that stuff that you don't get in pop music, or the stories of the Funk Brothers of Motown. And they're all my family, and Les Skechers is the New Orleans Funk Brothers that made thousands of famous records and concerts and didn't get paid enough as well. So it's like the same story, but you go on an adventure, and it's not about just sitting and reading a book. It's about watching a movie, listening to some music, and just trying to open your mind to some new ideas. So.
Is this a different one on screen than the one you're holding?
Oh, I think that
American
this is
Water
actually it's
Systems.
white.
Oh,
But I don't
okay,
think
that
the
is
white
it. Okay.
outline came out so well.
No,
so
I
it's
see.
a
I didn't look
shame, but
carefully enough.
The best part's going to be part 3 with you guys in it, but it took me 10 years to get it, because it took me a long time to unlayer it all. And besides, the timing is right now. So.
Well, we're definitely all about citizen journalism here. There's, George Webb is a big inspiration here for us.
George brought us all together.
He's all about writing books and wants everyone to write their book.
And he's all about getting the truth in the bottom of the story.
Absolutely.
So
here we'll do a few comments. Just thanks for those being here in the comments. Hey, All the Sun. Hey, Rose, thanks for being here. Hey, Deborah, thank you for being here. Deborah says Harry is the bomb. She also has a comment here. Let's see. My daughter was an NFL cheerleader for 4 years. Wow. Cheerleaders were not paid nor received any medical coverage for their injuries. NFL justified their volunteer status as careers boosters, or justified the volunteer status as it's kind of like, oh, you put that on your resume that, I was a Cowboys cheerleader or whatever.
Yeah.
And then somebody else wants to hire you. Interesting. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. But all right, well, fair enough. I guess anything else?
Well,
Mark?
there's always more. So let's just do enough for today. But there's all kinds of exciting things to talk about. So we'll do a little bit each week. But
yeah,
for Michigan people, I would like to see them starting, to take on getting involved and interested in the stories as much as they are the football and the basketball. Because if you really love your university, you'll do something to make it better. And that goes to the alumni who support it financially. And the kids that go there, I went to my university and I made it better. I was a problem, but they loved me for it. I created a lot of changes at my university, but they respected me for it. And in the end, they agreed with me. So don't be so afraid to go out and say, let's make a difference. Let's change something, because in the end, they'll love you more for it. And that's how you support your university, not by letting it go down the tubes, All
right. Well, I'll close it out here too with some Michigan news on this story from the University of Florida and the University of Michigan, a story that connects both. Certainly the University of Florida rejecting the president of the University of Michigan from coming over there today. So that's the big news that let us off today. We'll close it off with that. Certainly learn more about it at nakedtruth.news. And we'll come back at you next week with Harry the Greek and Greg and the Neighborhood News crew. So thank you all for being here. See you next time.
Also new tonight, it's an unprecedented move. Florida's Board of Governors is blocking Santa Ono from becoming the next leader of the University of Florida. The board voted 10-6 against his appointment, with some criticizing his past support for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The University of Florida's Board of Trustees has unanimously approved Ono as their choice for the school's 14th president. This marks the first time the state board has ever reversed a presidential selection by university trustees.